Hey there. I don't know why, but it feels funny to say, like, hey there. But anyways, welcome back to my channel, Eden ASMR. Today, I figured we could chat about my life lately and kind of dive into disillusionment and kind of that, I don't know, that choice to no longer try to be good. I'm not a good girl no more, okay? I'm a good girl gone bad. Which, some people think that happened a long time ago. But in fact, I have been, trying to chase after an idealized version of myself when it comes to morality for a very long time. And, I recently watched Star Wars for the very first time in my life in about a span of a week. I watched all 6 of the classic movies and I was surprised. It was actually really good, and a lot of the themes are very spiritual in nature with, the good side and the dark side, and the force, all of that kind of struck me as quite spiritual. But I'm someone who, I was raised, very strict Christian, fundamental Baptist. And so from the beginning of my existence, I was taught that I am inherently flawed and I must seek forgiveness and also try to improve. But it's kind of like what's the word? Like, you're never gonna be good enough, basically. You are a sinner, and that's all you're ever gonna be. So you gotta beg for forgiveness. Beg for forgiveness. So I was taught that I had to beg for forgiveness, and that should be part of my state of being, okay? And, I left Christianity around 2021, and I sat in the void, for a while. Basically, I didn't know what to make of it. I know that Christianity, at least in its current form, is incorrect, but I didn't know what the answer was, so kind of agnostic, But then I started having spiritual experiences, which is funny because my entire childhood I was praying to God like multiple times a day and no reply. Now all of a sudden I'm not even trying to talk to God because I'm not even buying into that anymore. And all of a sudden I have spiritual experiences, unexplainable occurrences, synchronicities. And so I go through kind of a series of awakenings. I also go through some really difficult situations, and so it kind of feels like this higher benevolent power is just reaching out to me and like surrounding me in love, free of charge. No begging for forgiveness required. And, maybe that's why, like, if there is a higher power, maybe they didn't reach out to me when I was a child, because it would have confused me regarding the source of this unconditional love / magic. But anyways, even through, my foot is falling asleep, trying to move it without making loud noises. So even though I kind of have a very free form spiritual understanding, I even refer to God as my higher self, and I have my own name for her. When I pray, it's essentially to the version of myself that is timeless and powerful and knows the whole story. And a lot of people believe that, like, that we're all one. So that means God and you, God and me are one and the same. But the point of that is I had a very empowering view of spirituality, and I started doing OF, and I engaged in plenty of activities that some people would consider to be immoral if they are coming from a kind of traditional Judeo-Christian value system. So I kind of overcame some aspects of purity culture, or that part of it where it's you have to be pure and perfect in these ways in order to be pure, which I don't agree with. But there were still some things that I felt so I don't know. Basically, I felt like I had to be continually seeking this moral perfection, even if it was in different ways than before. So I'm going to list some of these things. Now, obviously, I think if I could be perfect, I would do these things, right? So that would be like being careful with recycling, trying not to use plastic, trying not to drink out of plastic water bottles or use disposable silverware, being green, not eating meat, not eating animal products, not drinking alcohol, not wearing heavy makeup, not doing things that are like unethical, like buying things that were made in countries where it might be unethically made or whatever. It can get so nitpicky down to like, don't use social media, don't use AI, don't use that hairbrush, don't use that shirt, don't paint your wall, don't do this, don't do that, don't do whatever. And it's kind of like the other side of the same exact phenomenon or phenomena. I don't know. Like, it's the same thing as the Christianity thing, but from a different angle. And I don't know. Especially last year, I started really trying to be perfect in every single category, and my mind kind of became programmed to look for inconsistencies and areas where I was inadvertently doing something wrong. And I was under a lot of pressure from myself, and I had other pressure happening behind the scenes. And through my own, like, becoming aware of the fact that my experience of reality already has things that make it more difficult, like neurodivergence, I kind of had a breakdown when I realized how many things I was layering on my shoulders as moral responsibilities, feeling like if I didn't adhere to this strict moral code, then I don't know, I guess it was kind of a superstition in a way. Like, it was that same old religious idea of, well, if you don't do the right things, God is gonna punish you. And so I kind of felt like if I don't do all of these things, and the list is endless, and if you are chronically online, the list gets added to every day because other people are, talking and telling you their moral outrage, and a lot of them have a point. There's a lot of messed up stuff in the world, but where does it end? Am I not allowed to kill the ants that come in my house? You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's morally wrong at a certain point, but at another point, you just have to live your life without feeling this intense pressure to be the most moral being that ever lived. And obviously, also, if you're doing that all the time, you're judgmental, because when you see other people just living their lives, you kind of are a little bit of a hater because you're jealous. You're like, how dare you be free? How dare you? I want to be free. I want to be free so bad. At the end of the day, I think balance is key, okay? I've talked about this a lot in other videos too, but if you are like a super bad person, then yeah, you should probably dedicate, some thought, energy towards being a good person. But if you are already hyper fixated on being morally perfect, whether or not that looks like what other people consider to be perfect, but if you have your own like mental list and you're kind of beating yourself over the head with all of these, again, arbitrary rules, even though they do make sense, but it's still arbitrary, because it's like, even if you did everything right, just by existing, just by having a phone, just by participating in this reality, that could kind of break down to some harm that you've done in some way. I hope you know what I mean, but I'm going to assume that if you're watching this, then you kind of understand a little bit. But I don't know. I know that I don't want to cause harm. I know that I want the best for everyone. Everyone, okay? And for me, I'm deciding that that's enough. That is a core part of me as a human, and so it seeps into all of my decisions, and inevitably, as a human being, I will hurt people, I will cause harm. Lexi, my dog, is in the room, so you can probably hear her. She's walking around and shaking right now, but I'm trying to think of what I was saying. Oh yeah, basically I am choosing the middle path. I am choosing to live a life of just being chill and not trying to be perfect. And basically, if I feel the urge to do something, like if I want to wear heavy makeup, and if I want to just be a little crazy and have a little bit of fun and I don't know, because I know it sounds fucked up, especially because I made a whole video talking about being vegan, but it's all relative. It's so fucked up, but it's not fucked up. Yeah, I have eaten a chicken tender or two lately, okay? And, okay, it's fucked up, but also, I can't take the pressure, okay? I can't take the pressure of, being perfect all the time, and, I said it. Maybe I will be vegetarian. Maybe I will be vegetarian again someday. But I feel like, especially with moral callings, you kind of have to ride the wave and let things naturally develop and naturally undevelop. And you just kind of ease in and ease out. And that's all you can do. It also reminds me of the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, about the girl who she could see every possibility, every reality, every single thing all at once. So it was hard for her to be present and enjoy things. And I feel like, for me, the older I get, the more I know, the more patterns I've tracked. And sometimes I feel like that. Like I feel like I'm ruined. Like I know too much. And I can't just let things be easy. I can't let it be simple because I know what's gonna happen before it happens with accuracy. And the fact that I do, sure, it can protect me sometimes, but it also kind of like takes the fun out of life, because every single thing has some sort of story connected to it. Like a chicken tender is not just a chicken tender like it was when I was a kid. A chicken tender now is like this fucked up amalgamation of all of the suffering that happens. But it's like, again, it's so arbitrary because, like, who's to say that a suffering of a chicken is worse than a suffering of an ant? And people just kill them like it's nothing. Basically, when you're trying to be perfect, you hit your head against the wall a lot. You walk into dead ends because there's not any perfect answer. You are forced to surrender into your role as a human being, which includes being imperfect, and that's okay. I think in a way I was trying to be perfect as a rebellion, because when I was told as a child that I wasn't perfect, I knew that wasn't true. And I guess I thought I had to prove it, but perfect can mean different things. I think perfect can also mean like you are who you are, and that's enough. Just like my dog is perfect, but sometimes she kills baby bunnies, and that's fucked up. But like, she's existing, and that's her instinct. I don't let her do that, obviously. I stop it if I see it. It doesn't happen anymore, but you get the point. It's like, we don't perfect. We exist to express. And part of expression is following instincts, is exploring desires. It is very valuable and important to have a code of ethics, but that should be sustainable. It should be something that is at or around your level of operating, because what happens when you go all the way in the other direction is it's not sustainable. So it collapses, and then you basically could have skipped that. It's all about baby steps and just doing your best. But anyways, I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of think out loud and then I forget, like, did any of that make sense? I don't know. But it makes sense to me, obviously. But there's also shame that comes with it, with releasing this pursuit of ultimate good. And especially if you are super idealistic, it feels like an ego death, because that's all you were. That's who you were. That was your identity internally for a while. And so to kind of release that and still be okay and still be good without feeling that constant pressure to refine your goodness and ramp it up every time you notice another thing that could be better. And you kind of relax and you're like, wait, like, even when I'm not applying pressure, things kind of are okay. It kind of stays without that pressure. It's scary. It doesn't feel like it'll stay. And that goes for a lot of things in life, in my life, where it feels like I have to be putting pressure, I have to be controlling it, I have to be watching it and refining and refining and refining and paying attention and like, oh, that's not right, oh, gotta fix this, like, especially when it comes to relationships with other people. It's kind of this feeling of like hypervigilance, like any little shift is like, are you gonna betray me? Isn't that what that was? Do you not like me? And kind of learning to just chill, let go of that is what allows you to see reality for what it is without constant control. And you realize, like, some things are gonna be okay. Some things will fall. And that's why, like, you have to let it fall. For me, I'm thinking about my morality and my relationships. Those are the two main things at the top of my mind right now, where it felt like I just let go of control and of micromanagement, it's all gonna fall apart and I'm gonna lose everything. I'm going to be the embodiment of what I hate, and the worst things I ever imagined, the things that I feared, are gonna come true. And I kind of had to make peace with that because it feels real. It feels like that's gonna happen. And so I did, like, a series of times, right? Because it's not always one time. And it does feel like dying. It feels like, God, it's happening. Everything is going away now. Like, what's happening to me? Like, what's happening to everything I care about? It's being pulled from my fingertips, and I'm in so much pain. And then you cry it out. You feel everything. And then the clouds part and the sun comes up, and you look around and things are low-key fine. And you wonder, was I just wasting all of that energy that whole time? Could I have been enjoying myself? No, that's not possible. Is it possible to enjoy yourself? I don't know, because I don't know that I've enjoyed, like, a good portion of my life. But anyways, I'm working on that. And it's scary. It's scary to let I was going to say false self, but, like armor, all of that, the shell, the cocoon, well, I don't know if that's a good, but it's scary and it's painful to let it fall, and there's so many layers of it. You go through this whole ordeal and you think, like, finally I'm done, and then boom, a year later, a whole different one with a different theme. It's like, oh my god. But that's, that's just the path that some of us are on. I mean, if you get it, you get it. And I am grateful, and I've been gently returning to gratitude, and that makes me feel really good. I haven't been doing my gratitude notebook for a while. That's where I pretty much every day would write down, today I am so grateful for, and then make a list of random stuff. It could be as little as, the sun shining on me, or my new shirt, or my hair growing long, because a few years ago I fried it off, so it's like right here. Not all of it, part of it. It was horrible. But yes, the more grateful I am, the more delicious life feels. And for me, I am quite, what's the word? Is it neurotic? I go through intense emotional lows. And so I need to be careful about how I frame my perspectives. And gratitude is really helpful for me, and that helps me access more of the positive sides of life, and it helps me focus my mind because that's what I need to master. That's what I desire to master. Yeah. But, the third prequel of Star Wars, the one where Anakin turns evil, he goes to the dark side. That was horrible. That was horrible. It made me cry so much. And Anakin, he was low-key one of my faves. So, that was horrible. Anyways, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to say. Oh yeah, another thing is, I saw this in maybe an Instagram comment section. It was a post about how letting go of a thing, that was holding you back will feel so good and you finally fly and whatever. And then someone in the comment section said, you don't have to let go. You can just shift your relationship to the thing that is holding you back. And that is something that has helped me a lot, because there are things that I perceive to be holding me back. And sometimes it's like I'm trying so hard to separate from it, but it's all glued in. It's like I can't get it away. There's no way. Or it keeps returning in my life in a different format. And so I think that was a really helpful way to think about it, was you don't have to fully let go or cut something out of your life. You can shift the way that you interact with it or view it, even slightly, and that could be enough to give you the outcome that you desire. Very interesting. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this ramble. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I don't know. I feel more like myself when I can talk. Honestly.